You already know what time it is. Welcome to the show where the real stay spinning. Popcorn ready, yeah, the cow will stay winning. From the opening scene to the end credit roll, every frame get love, every story gets told. I'm talking movie reviews, no rush, no hype. If it's fire, we'll say it. If not, we precise. From blockbusters big to the films you miss. If it hit different, yeah, we taking a risk. This that real time.
Welcome to one more episode of Real Time with Frankie. We're ready to do this one more time. We're going to kick it off, as usual, with a trailer watch, right? And today we're going to be watching, starring Sacha Baron Cohen and Rosamund Pike, Ladies First.
Once upon a time, there was a man named Damien.
Yeah. Ruby, I've got a high priority project for you.
You cannot legally make me break up with one of your girlfriends again.
He was an arsehole.
Fortunately, this story is also about a woman named Alex.
We're meeting up later at the pub for happy hour.
Oh, wow. I think my happy hour days might be long behind me.
Oh, I wasn't inviting you.
Ooh.
The clients want to increase their female market share. Above all, women just want to feel heard, right?
I think they want to be heard.
Alex, I'm in the middle of an idea, but it's so good to have you in the room. I really appreciate it.
God, what a punchable face.
Hey.
Can you tell us what happened, though? You on any medication? The pill?
The pill?
Look after that pretty face, all right?
What? Ruby, give me an ice pack.
Shall I pick up your dry cleaning as well?
She's a lady.
Damien, what are you doing in my office?
What are you talking about? This is my office. Damien, please. Don't laugh at me. What is this? Jesus.
Good Lord, he needs to knock one out.
This is not my house.
Now Pope Beatrice III.
My sperm, my choice.
Whose fucking cat is this? She's a lady. Women are in charge here.
What? It's a smile.
Where the hell am I?
Hey, Damien.
That's my girl.
How do I get out of here?
You make a change.
But she always knows her place. She's got style, she's got grace. She's a weird.
Amongst these gems is the premier testicle bra. They'll make your little fellas fly.
Take me back! Shit! You stole my job.
You need to relax.
I'm just getting started.
You see the plums on that?
He wants to sit at the big girls' table.
The board had any balls, I'd be the CEO of
Had any balls? The delicate sacs that dangle from your body with the slightest tap sends you weeping to the ground.
Yes.
She's a lady.
Can you change a tie?
No, I'm a man.
Father fucker.
She's a lady.
So in this movie, Ladies First, Sacha Baron Cohen is playing a guy who is just absolutely rude. You know, we're talking like what social media perceives Andrew Tate, except in a suit instead of in boxing gloves and MMA wraps and whatnot. You know, so we have Sacha Baron Cohen. He's playing this guy who's absolutely horrible with people, and maybe especially to women. That's why the situation occurs. And then there's a woman who works in the same company. It looks like a marketing agency or something, with Rosamund Pike's character. And in the trailer, you see that her name is Alex. And this is deeper than vice versa. This is like parallel universe movie, you know? So he's going to be put in situations that women are typically put in, and she's going to have a dominant role in this film. And, you know, a lesson is going to be learned by the end of it. But along the way, I'm sure it's going to be absolutely hilarious. We got the amazing Sacha Baron Cohen. You know, this is the guy who did Borat and Borat 2. You know, Bruno. He had a role in Talladega Nights, co-starring Will Ferrell. You know, and he's just a stellar comedian. I cannot wait to watch this. All right. It's coming out on Netflix. You guys saw. And yeah, come back to the comment section after we watch the movie. I'm probably going to do a movie review on it. I absolutely already love the trailer. It looks so funny already. Okay. We're going to jump into the second trailer. This is going to be called Power Ballad, and it's got Nick Jonas and Paul Rudd.
Did you look at her receipt?
Yeah, thanks.
What?
You don't recognize it?
Should I?
Of course, yes, you should. That's my chorus and verse. I wrote that song.
When?
Wow. Danny Wilson. You were great up there. Come with me. I could tell within 2 minutes of meeting you, you are not just some boy band guy.
And you are too good for that wedding band.
Been toying with this one for years.
Cause every song I ever wrote in my life is about you. So good.
Just wanted it so bad, you know?
Having my name on that song would have changed my life! That's what a good song can do, right? Has the ability to mean many different things to many different people. So what are my options?
I'm afraid you don't have any options, Mr. Power. Legally speaking.
What about illegally speaking?
Now, in this movie, Power Ballad, you see the trailer starts with Paul Rudd shopping in a mall, and he hears a song that he says he wrote. And, you know, the movie goes on to show that he did write it. It was performed by the character that Nick Jonas is playing, and they seem to kick off a fantastic relationship, brothers and whatnot. You know, two artists trying to, you know, become something in this world, I guess. In the trailer later on, you see that Paul Rudd is in a wedding band, you know, and Nick Jonas. They say that he should aspire to be more than just a pop star or something. So a connection happens between these two guys, and then, you know, you see Paul Rudd talking with lawyers, right? It was already seen in the trailer that Nick Jonas's character is singing a song that Paul Rudd's character wrote. So, you know, legal things are going to come about, and there might be some betrayal. That's what it's looking like, you know. There's the line in the trailer where he says, you know, my name on the song would have changed my life. So that could have been where the betrayal starts. You know how it is in the music industry, you know, 360 deals and you know, it's very, very predatory to people who are either young and striving to be in the career or just don't have the means to do things properly. You know, don't have the means to make sure all, you know, things have their name attached to it. So, you know, the music industry is very, very predatory in that way. And, you know, it looks like some of those elements are going to pop up in this movie. So I can't wait to watch this either. You know, Nick Jonas is a musician, right? Is a musical artist, and he's, you know, getting into the acting chops. You know, he's also a Disney kid, so that's typically where that comes from. A lot of the Disney children sing and act. And I think Nick Jonas, you know, is the most talented out of his brothers. You know, Joe Jonas, you know, for a while after the Jonas brother, he was just known for dating Taylor Swift. But Nick Jonas has had a very, very successful music career after his Disney career, which, by the way, the Jonas Brothers show was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I loved it. I love the Jonas Brothers show. But since the show, Nick Jonas, I think, has had the best career. Joe Jonas, like I just said, was mostly known for dating Taylor Swift for a period of time. And then, the name of the eldest brother is slipping my mind, but the oldest Jonas, you know, he stepped out of the limelight entirely, happily married, and I'm happy for him as well. But all three boys, very successful in their careers up to this point, and again, just happy for them. I love to see when a musical artist takes on an acting role. Okay, and then you got Paul Rudd, phenomenal actor, one of the guys in Hollywood that just doesn't seem to age. Very happy to see Paul Rudd in anything that he does. Paul Rudd is a phenomenal actor. I absolutely love it. So one, I'll definitely be watching this. And yeah, definitely going to get a movie review out of me for this one also. All right, so stay tuned for that one as well. Both these movies coming out in the month of May. So be sure to tune in to watch those. if you do get the chance to see them, come back to this video, all right, and write in the comment section what you thought about it, right? Or we can wait for the movie reviews and you can write in those comment sections, okay? We're going to go into something that it's been a while since I've done it. It's been a while since I've done it, and it's the first time I'm going to do it on my own. I'm going to do an actor's profile. So the actor we're talking about today is Jack Quaid. All right, Jack Quaid, child of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan. And if you look at him, you can really see both of his parents in his face. And I have this joke where I say something to the effect of, I hear that happens when you're related, because I have 5 siblings, and when people see us all together, they're like, "Oh my gosh, you guys look so similar." I say, yeah, I hear that happens when you're related. So, but yeah, I love to see that, you can see, or just, I don't know how to explain what I'm thinking about, but just the amazingness of science, the human body, this creation that we live in, to know that 2 people came together and made something, and then you can really see the 2 people in that one person, right? Jack Quaid looks exactly like his mother and father put together. But he attended 2 schools of art. One is called Crossroads School, and the other was called NYU Tisch School of the Arts. Talk about, really dedicating your career early on. He must have knew he wanted to be an actor. You got his father, Dennis Quaid, and Dennis Quaid is well known in a lot of spaces. So, yeah, he probably looked up to his father and wanted to do the same thing. Not surprised. But I love that he's in Hollywood now. All right. He was actually got his film debut in The Hunger Games in 2012, whichever Hunger Games movie that was in 2012 that came out. I don't know if it was the first Hunger Games, but his IMDb credit says Hunger Games 2012. That was his film debut. They say he had a small role, character named Marvel, and he's been on a roll ever since. He's actually had a breakout role in Amazon Prime series The Boys, playing Huey Campbell, right? Doing a phenomenal job in that show. They are 5 seasons in. It is absolutely a cult series. Like, there's an absolutely amazing, like, huge fan base behind this show, including me. I loved it. I mean, opening scenes of the first episode, this guy who's a superhero smashes into a woman right at super speed. And they don't show things like this in the traditional superhero things. They don't show things like this in the traditional superhero shows and movies. But if somebody were moving as fast as a superhero with super speed can move, yeah, you probably would shatter someone into all the atoms that created them if you ran into them, So, opening scene of The Boys, Jack Quaid's character standing in the middle of the road with his girlfriend, and a superhero named A-Train who has super speed runs through and smashes into this woman standing on the road. He's covered in her blood, and he says, I can't stop, and he keeps going. And Jack Quaid's character is now on a mission to take down these superheroes, who killed his girlfriend by accident, but, they didn't seem to care about the events taking place anyways. And Jack Quaid has done a phenomenal job on the show. Like I said, 5 seasons in. The 5th season actually just started, and I'm prime, no pun intended, but I'm primed to watch it. All right. That was just his breakout role as a just what he's most known for. This is the role that really catapulted him in Hollywood. But his leading man role was a movie just released in 2025 called Novocaine. I don't know the entire story behind it, but when I first saw the trailer, I understand, and don't quote me on this. I understand that he has like a girlfriend, and she gets caught up with some bad people, and he tries to take them on all by himself. And his one advantage is that he can't feel pain, So kind of like if you remember the movie Kick-Ass, some kid just said, "Why aren't there superheroes?" and goes on to try to do it. I don't know. I think that's the closest similarity to that movie. But again, I haven't seen it. I'm only going based on the trailer. they make it a point to, let you know that he can't feel pain in the trailer. So that's why it brings me to the movie Kick-Ass. So, but, that was his leading man role. And I am going to watch that movie. I just want to. I can't say I'm a fan of Jack Quaid if I'm not going to watch it, especially, things to look out for. Things that, got a good reputation, got a good word out after he had done it and everything. Can't say I'm a fan of Jack Quaid if I don't, watch it and continue to look out for him. So I'm going to watch Novocaine, okay? I want to take a step into his personal life, right? Because Jack Quaid, the son of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan, he is one of those actors that have been labeled a Nepo baby. Nepo baby as in nepotism. And nepotism, well, whoever doesn't know by now, nepotism is the practice of using one's status to bring their offspring or family into the same career field or of the same status. Something to that effect. And, Jack Quaid has not embraced the title Nepo Baby, but he absolutely accepts the title. He says, yeah, I was introduced to representation very early in my life through my father. He accepts the title as Nepo Baby, not necessarily embraces it because in an interview, Dennis Quaid said that his son Jack made a really strong effort to make it on his own. His mother, Meg Ryan, hates him being called a Nepo baby because she says that it discredits his work ethic. And I agree. If you look at this man's IMDb credits, his breakout role was in 2012. But in 2012, he had 4 jobs. In 2013, he also had 4 jobs. In 2014, he only had 3 jobs. But in 2015, he had 7 jobs in 1 year. In 2016, he had 8 jobs in 1 year, right? Between then and 2023, he has about 4 and 5 jobs a year. But in 2024, he has a total of 7 jobs. And in 2025, he has a total of 8 jobs. In 2026, he's already 2 in. Okay? So he's got plenty of time for the rest of the year to keep that train going, right? This man's work ethic is absolutely crazy. 5, 6, 7, 8 projects a year. He deserves to be well known at some point. I'm glad it's happening now, right? Especially in this time of streaming and the popularity that's around the show The Boys. I'm happy that he is happening now. I'm happy that he's happening now. Last thing I want to say about Jack Quaid, he was in a relationship with a actress named Claudia Dumit, who turns out to co-star with him on the show The Boys. And they've been dating, according to his Wikipedia page, since 2022, and actually just got married April 2026. So again, congratulations to him. But that's just something that I'm gonna say don't really like about Hollywood, and I'm actually about to get into it right now. Right, that was my actor's profile. Look out for Jack Quaid. He's a good actor, a great actor so far. What he's decided to take on, he's performed really well in already. And I will continue to look out for Jack Quaid. All right. That was the actor's profile. And we're going to move right into the next segment of the show, Director's Notes. Whew. All right. There is something that I hate in Hollywood that most people don't question on the surface because it just looks like a good thing. It looks like romance or connection. It looks like 2 people finding something real in an industry that's often feels artificial. And recently, I just mentioned it, Jack Quaid and Claudia Dumit, both working on Amazon Prime's The Boys, built a relationship that led to marriage. Let me be clear now. There's nothing wrong with love. There's nothing wrong with connection, right? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with 2 people finding something meaningful wherever it happens. But that's not what this is about. What I want to discuss is professionalism, because at some point, Hollywood stopped feeling like a workplace and started to feel like a dating service. Right? Think about what a film set actually is. It's a controlled environment with long hours, high emotions, sometimes scripted intimacy. You're literally being asked to simulate connection, create chemistry, and build believable relationships on command. So, yes, naturally, people are going to connect. But here's what I hate. When that environment consistently turns into real life relationships, it starts to blur the line between performance and personal life. And over time, it creates a culture where being on set doesn't mean you're doing your job. It also becomes an opportunity to find your next relationship. And that is where the discipline starts to slip. Because if the goal of getting famous is to get romantic attention from others, that just means you're lame anyways, you know? Like Kalen Walker had a role in the 2018 remake of Superfly starring Trevor Jackson, was recently sentenced to 50 years in prison for claiming that he was going to be able to start the careers of many young women and use that to prey on vulnerable girls. That is definitely lame guy behavior. And in any other profession, it's understood that you go to work, not to build your personal life in real time or explore romantic possibilities while the job is still being done. But in Hollywood, crossing that line feels like an option, which makes focusing on your career optional. But to take it a step further, because this isn't about individual relationships, it's really about the ecosystem, the environment that these things take place in. Hollywood already operates in a very tight circle. Same actors, same directors, same producers, same networks. Projects overlap, social circles overlap, opportunities overlap. And when relationships are constantly forming within the same spaces, the circle doesn't expand, it tightens. It becomes more insulated, more self-contained, more repetitive, right? And that stuff like that has consequences. I don't know if there are actual numbers to this stat, but I would say 60, 70, 75% of Hollywood are probably Eskimo brothers and sisters. And when relationships constantly form within the same spaces, it starts to feel less like connection and more like rotation, right? They're being formed in the exact same environment over and over again. On the set of some movie or some TV show, they're playing love interests and they manage to keep it quiet for a year. Then they finally get caught having breakfast at a cafe or making out in the back of a club. And at some point, you have to ask, are these connections really as deep as they feel or as deep as they look? Or is this just a product of proximity? Like, hey, you right there. Why not? They should save themselves the embarrassment of the eventual split and Hollywood having a tragic love story to talk about forever, like Brad and Jennifer and Brad and Angelina. Now, I will say this in order to be fair, right? You have the rare success stories versus the pattern. There are some examples where it works and something real comes out of that environment, like Tom Holland and Zendaya. There's a situation where people feel like, that makes sense. It feels genuine. It feels like something grew naturally over time. But those situations are what you call the exception, not the rule. Because for every one of those, there are several relationships that don't last. They start quickly, they end quickly, and eventually disappear. And that pattern tells us something. It tells us that, what's being built in those environments isn't always rooted in stability. Sometimes it's rooted in proximity, timing, circumstance. And when you remove those elements, the relationship will not hold. But I'd like to offer a thought that might sound old-fashioned, but, I think it's incredibly practical. If you reach success in Hollywood and you gain access, visibility, and resources, why not share that with someone who knew you before you got all that stuff? Someone who wasn't introduced to you through status or part of the same machine. Someone who saw you, who knew you, who embraced you before the lights, before the roles, and before, nationwide, citywide, global attention. Because that kind of connection, it's harder to manufacture. It's harder to confuse that with, just, on-set chemistry, and it's definitely harder to replace. Again, this isn't about telling people who they can and can't love, right? It's not about controlling relationships, I want to bring it back to focus by asking, what happens to the work when the workplace stops being treated like work? Because acting already requires you to blur some lines. You got to take steps into emotions that aren't yours. You got to build connections that will not be permanent. So, maybe there's value in keeping one boundary intact. Showing up to set, being focused on the craft, doing the job without turning every opportunity into something personal. Because when the work stays the priority, the art stays sharper. And in a town where everything is already fake, that simple clarity might be the only vulnerable thing left. That was my director's notes, and this has been Real Time with Frankie. If you stayed this long to listen or watch, I want to thank you once more. All right, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment on this video if you care to as well. All right, I can be found on social media at Discuss the Films, wherever there's social media, and wherever you can listen to a podcast. Real Time with Frankie is the name of the show. All right, thank you again. I'll see you all next time.
Just that real time, we have Frankie. Take a seat, front row vision, yeah, we break it down, me from the trailers to the stars.